All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I think we will get started, and we will just continue to let people in as they join us. So, Jack, take it away.
Jack is
okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Great. All right. Well, thanks to George Mansfield and others behind the scenes, but George for hosting this meeting. And I also should just say thank you for your 25 years of service to the town of Carlisle. Appreciate it, and really admire the fact that this is going to be one of your swan song activities here. So thank you. So good evening and welcome to the Carlisle Master Plan Community Forum. I'm Jack Trost, chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee. I've been living in Carlisle for the past 20 years, and I, like many of you, have a strong affinity for what makes Carlisle unique. The master plan is a vision for Carlisle for the next 20 to 30 years and what it will look like. What do we hope remains the same? What will change? And how do we as a community strike that balance? Ultimately, some choices in the future will involve trade-offs, and so it's helpful to have a shared vision defined by a set of goals to help residents make these choices going forward. Just to connect the dots, this process got off to a solid start in the fall of 2019 and the winter of 2020, and then it was hindered by the pandemic, as many things were. But I'm really grateful for the continued work of the steering committee, both and past members, who kept this process moving ahead. So this evening is about your sense of the vision, your input about Carlisle's future. And we really look forward to your participation in the breakout sessions and and your feedback on a survey to follow. So we're very fortunate to have Judy Barrett in the Barrett Planning Group working with us on this project. Judy and her firm have worked with many communities across the Commonwealth on master planning, including Lincoln, Groton, and Hingham. So now what I'd like to do is turn this part of the program over to Judy and her team.
So I am probably the least important person in this meeting tonight. Actually, Alexis is very much in charge for us, but I'm happy to be here to witness this, and we're very excited and pleased to be working with you. The committee has done an unbelievable amount of work, really more than I think I've seen in almost any town that we've worked in, so you all deserve a tremendous amount of credit. We're a small planning firm. There are 6 of us here. We work almost exclusively for municipalities. We do a lot of master plan work and a lot of zoning work. So this is a very exciting time for us, and we're available throughout the meeting if you need us. But I think I'm really going to turn this over to Alexis because she's in charge.
Thank you, Judy. And I just want to reiterate what Judy said about the dedication of this committee and how that is. It's just commendable, and I don't want to say rare, but I mean, truly, this committee has put in so much effort, and it's just great. So what you see in this presentation tonight is the work of the people whose names you see listed, and also past members as well. And it's just been really great to come into this process and see what had already been done in such a tremendous way. So thank you, Jack, for that introduction. And we hope you will be seeing more of us as this process continues to unfold over the next several months. So what we're going to be going over tonight, we're going to do some welcome introductions, which we've pretty much covered. I'm going to do just a brief project refresher because, as Jack acknowledged, there was somewhat of a disruption to this process due to the pandemic. But I have to say that while the kind of the public interface of the project was on hold, there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes from this committee and others. So just going to give a little bit of a refresher of what's been done and look at an anticipated timeline for the duration of this process. Then we'll be talking about the things that we have heard through the various community engagement opportunities that have taken place since the outset in the fall of 2019. And then really the bulk of what we want to talk to you about tonight are the draft plan vision, values, which are kind of we're envisioning as the themes of the plan, and then the goals that relate to each of those values. And then you'll be going into breakout groups to discuss those at length with members of the Master Plan Steering Committee who are really the experts in the goals that have been crafted. And they will be, you'll have an opportunity to kind of explore a few different topics tonight. And then when we wrap up from the breakout groups, we'll just be talking to you about some next steps about how you can stay engaged. So the first, just like I said, refresher for those of you who, or maybe for those of you who weren't as active in the process at the beginning, or for those of you who were, if you just need a little a refresher. What is a master plan? A master plan is a community-wide vision that includes comprehensive long-term goals, policy recommendations, strategies, and implementation steps for a series of master plan topics that get covered in the plan. It supports other planning efforts that your town might have underway, or several of these you actually already do have in place, but it does not replace more detailed efforts. So as some examples, your open space and recreation plan that was just accepted, this plan will support that and encourage the implementation of that. The existing housing production plan and possible update to that as well. And then also I know that your MVP plan is also underway. So it will supplement and support those efforts, but it does not take the place of those. So just a little refresher as to what's been done. And the first bullets you see here relate to kind of the community engagement pieces that you may have been involved in. In the fall of 2019, there was kind of an initial survey just to get a sense of what people loved about Carlisle and what they were kind of hoping to get out of this process. Then there were some interviews and focus groups. There were a couple of community meetings and some kitchen conversations that had really an amazing turnout. And then from that, the committee was able to develop some kind of products. So there are draft existing conditions reports that talk about several of the master plan topics. And then the vision and values and goals that we're discussing tonight, among other things. And we've also begun the process of brainstorming recommendations, but we're not quite there yet because first we need to ensure that what we think are the community's vision and possible goals make sense to you. So I want to talk next just briefly about the anticipated timeline. And so this, by all means, does not cover everything that we'll be doing. It's just meant to kind of lay out for you major milestones and opportunities for community engagement along the way. So we will be talking to you a little bit later about a survey that will be available later this month relating to these goals. And then over the summer, our work with the committee is going to be focused on taking the goals that we're hopefully able to kind of finalize at this stage and start penciling in and exploring and talking about with the community recommendations that would support those. So more actions that allow the goals to come to fruition. And then from there, we start to develop the draft plan, and we want to ensure that there's opportunities for review kind of along the way. And then the goal is that the plan is complete by the end of the year. And we say draft in brackets there because the idea is that community discussions will continue in a way that lands to ultimate master plan adoption by the planning board. So I want to turn it over to Barney Arnold, who is going to talk a little bit about what the committee heard through prior community engagement, as she really spearheaded a lot of the community engagement efforts. So Barney, if you could take it away and just let me know if I need to advance the slides and I'm slow on the draw.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. As Alexis said, I'm Barney Arnold, and really nice to be here with you tonight. I'm excited about what's to come, especially the small group conversations. So Alexis mentioned the various ways that we heard from people at the start of this process, and I'll just quickly mention a few things about each slide. So in fall of 2019, a survey went out and we had 537 people respond. What's interesting about this is that if you look to the right, the top three reasons, so actually the first two, open space and natural resources and the quality of the schools, as you can see from the bar, those two are both in the 70 percentages. And then the community residents, that's all of us. People really like the town. That's another big plus. And the character and history of the town, and also the geographic location. Please continue. Thank you. And then that first community meeting was held at the beginning of November. And what we looked at was what's one thing you'd like to see fixed right away or addressed right away? And then the other was really looking ahead to what would you like to see Carlisle look like in the future? And if you look at the 7 bullets to the right, again, I'm not going to read them all, but you will find that there's a very great similarity between these bullets and then what you're going to see later when we look at the draft vision, values, and goals. Please continue. Then something that we tried as a committee that I think worked out really well was an effort to really dive more deeply into the community and reach people where they live to be able to participate in discussions about the master plan. So we came up with this idea of kitchen conversations, and we recruited individual Carlisle residents to host a small group in their home, often in their kitchen. Occasionally it was at a workplace, and there were 53 of those conversations. And over the course of January and February, 450 people participated. It's a plus or minus sign because some folks didn't actually turn back in their sign-in sheets. But of those we had, we know it was about 450. And you will see under the age data that it was a wide cross-section. And I can also tell you it was also a good cross-section of demographics, too. So those were very helpful. Note takers took notes and returned those. And I will mention that all of the data from all of these different efforts to engage people is on the website for the master plan, masterplan.org. So you can go at your leisure and be able to read through things. And there's lots and lots of information to look at there. And the last one. So that is what brings us to these 4 efforts in particular that I just mentioned, plus some other work that was done, are what feed into the vision, values, and goals that you're going to hear about next. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barney. So in this next portion of the presentation, we're going to jump into the vision and values and goals and kind of how we see them in relationship to each other and how they all relate and connect. So first, I just want to introduce this framework here that will kind of outline as we go. So in the center, we're going to talk about a vision for Carlisle. And that is based on all of the community engagement that Barney outlined in the previous slides. Now, coming off of that vision, we wanted to get a little more kind of specific about the themes that will carry the plan. And so there are 5 values we'll be talking about. And then from each value, there are currently 5 draft goals. And that's really going to be the bulk of the discussion in the breakout groups. So the vision, as we have it in its current iteration, Carlisle celebrates a vibrant sense of community and rural character as a small New England town with abundant natural and historical resources. So that's the vision that really carries the plan, and the recommendations that come from it. Everything should be kind of in support of that community vision. The 5 values that the committee worked to develop, Carlisle character, fiscal sustainability, connectivity and access, environmental stewardship, and caring community. So those are the 5 values that will really support this plan. And I'm going to talk about each of the 5 briefly, one by one. And when you go into your breakout groups, you will be able to select which ones you want to learn a little bit about. So you'll get to learn about all of the goals tonight, but we're asking you to kind of pick 3, because there'll be 3 breakout group slots of the ones that interest you most, or you just want to learn more about or give feedback on. But at the end of the presentation, we'll be discussing a survey that will be coming up where you'll really get to weigh in on all of them. Barney also mentioned the master plan website, which will be sure to show you the URL at the end, and a document listing all 5 values and subsequent goals is there for your review and consideration before you take the survey as well. So as I talk through these, kind of think about which ones you want to discuss through, and I'll also let you know which master plan steering committee expert will be leading each breakout group. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is Carlisle's character. And so what you see here are the 5 goals in abbreviated form that the committee worked to develop relating to Carlisle's character. So the goals are to preserve agricultural land use and traditions, support cultural and historical resources and activities, protect open space and conservation lands, preserve buildings and land with historic value, and balance multiple town goals through policy. Now, each of those expands a bit more when you're in your breakout groups, but if any of those, really interest you, you want to learn more, consider joining the Carlisle character breakout group, which that will be managed tonight by John Valentine. Okay. So the next value that will drive the plan that the committee determined was of importance through community input is fiscal sustainability. So the goals in relation to fiscal sustainability cover balancing revenue and cost to control taxes for Carlisle households, capitalizing on your existing volunteer and philanthropic culture to support available revenue, conduct long-range facilities planning, explore viable uses for town-owned properties, and supporting local businesses with community value. So again, that breakout group tonight, that will be led by Carrie Kissinger. The next value is the idea of connectivity and access. And this one really doesn't just focus on the idea of physical connectivity. It's also about connectivity between the community and town staff and the volunteers who work so hard to support the character of the town. So it's more than just physical connectivity we're looking at here. So the goals in support of connectivity and access identify opportunities to improve walkability, support the transportation needs of non-drivers, coordinate the town's online presence to make information more connected, improve communication and decision-making in town, and fostering collaboration in town hall. And the member of our steering committee who will be leading the discussion about connectivity and access this evening is Jan Cornell, she's actually the one who designed this lovely flower. So the next value that we are going to talk about is environmental stewardship, and that will be led by committee member Bob Sogg. So the goals that we have relating to environmental stewardship: strengthening town's sustainability policies, establishing and pursuing state-aligned carbon reduction goals, reducing town and household energy, water, and waste, protecting water resources and wetlands, and safeguarding the community from the impacts of climate change. The last value in this discussion this evening will be led by Kate Reed, committee member Kate Reed, is the caring community value. And the goals that we have in relation to this are as follows: increasing housing options to meet community needs, fostering opportunities for intergenerational activity, expanding town services for all residents, including seniors, continuing to support high-quality education for all, and encouraging and supporting resident participation and volunteerism. So again, just to kind of reiterate how that framework looks, in the center we have the vision for Carlisle, the values coming off of that, and each value with its supporting goals. So just to review, so you can kind of consider the breakout group you'd like to join first. Again, you'll have 3 opportunities this evening, and if you want to join again on Sunday, you'll have 3 more opportunities when we rebroadcast this and have live breakout groups again. But we talked about Carlisle character, fiscal sustainability, connectivity and access, environmental stewardship, and caring community. So what I'd like you to do, actually, I'm going to ask Mary Lynn, if you wouldn't mind in the chat throwing in the URL for the project website, just in case any of our attendees tonight want to access the document that has these available, so you can have them handy. But otherwise, before we go into the breakout groups, we're going to talk a little bit about how these goals, these are them in words, but we also as a committee are starting to explore what it actually looks like on the ground and kind of how that will relate to translating these goals into the physical space of Carlisle. So I'm going to turn it over to Jan and ask her to tell us a little bit more. And Jan, you can just let me know when you're ready for me to advance. Thank you, Mary Lynn. The link to the project page is in the chat for anyone who wants to access that as we go along. So Jan.
Thanks, Alexis. The goals and the values and vision and goals can be quite conceptual and abstract, and our goal in starting to land some of these ideas and this information on the actual physical area in Carlisle is an attempt to just help all of you and ourselves start to really understand how things really land on the ground. And these are just very rough and smudgy ideograms in a way that illustrate the bigger sort of framing systems within the town. So there are a lot of ways that Carlisle has a unique character. One of them, if we look at the overall patterns of land use and physical systems within town, is really the way that both the natural systems, which are represented in the kind of greens and blues, which we are, which follow a drainage pattern that really define and help guide our strategies for conserving land, that create a real structure and understanding of where we should touch lightly and be careful about how we move forward with development. You can see, they're the areas that we really truly value. And it's what defines Carlisle. We have so much conserved land compared to other towns in the area, maybe notwithstanding Concord. But this is one of the major patterns and systems that we value in town. The other character defining element are the cultural systems, which is the corridors where the patterns of development over the years through history have created these corridors of historic resources and cultural resources that really give Carlisle its character. So this is the way this is what we bring forward into any path, any options, any ideas we may explore. We plan, what we've heard from the community, what we see in everything that the various organizations and boards and committees pursue is to really think of Carlisle in terms of its natural systems and its historic cultural systems as well. You want to go to the next slide? Sure. We've started to think about, all right, so if we have these 5 values and we establish a set of goals that seem to embrace the intentions of the town and the community as we look forward to the future, what are some of the ideas we may explore? That we have there's a lot of possibilities. And we need a lot of input from all of you, and we need to study and understand what the feasible options are. But I'm going to show you 3 different ideas that have been kicking around, and we're interested in hearing your thoughts on. One is, what if we were to focus on the town center and create more housing choices within walking distance of the town center? And that red circle represents 1 mile from the center. So it's basically a 20-minute walk from the center out to the edge of that red circle. So the idea is that, well, what if we could create housing that was maybe closer to the school? Maybe there were smaller units that had shared amenities, possibly. Could we find a way to really focus our attention on improving the walkability and the resources for housing, the housing choices within that town center area? That's one idea. You go to the next slide. Another idea, which, these are all ideas that are brewing and are actually underway in many ways in some of these areas. What if we really found a number of a handful of clusters where there are opportunities, there's vacant land, or there's opportunities for densify, or increasing the number of choices and the amount of houses in a sort of cluster around in different parts of town. That's another idea that we could explore. And another idea is just to say, well, maybe we don't really go after vacant land. Maybe we really focus on adding new housing choices on land that's already developed. Maybe we should help people, tap into make it easier or make it more streamlined, or help people understand how they could build accessory units, or maybe make their house into a 2-family, or add on in place. That would create a different pattern of change within the Carlisle footprint. And these are all just ideas. One's not exclusive from the other. They're you can intermatch or interchange and mix and match. But they give us each one of these ideas or actions that we could consider. They will, on the flower, they will meet some of the goals and maybe not others.
Right.
So we have to really evaluate all the ideas that we explore over the summer and into the fall based on how they're meeting the goals and capturing the values and the vision for Carlisle.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Jan. When you join your breakout group facilitators, in addition to having the goals for their particular value available, They also have those slides as well. So if you have a question about, how maybe that a particular kind of footprint that Jan just described integrates with a goal or doesn't, your facilitator should be able to share those. All right. So I'm just going to explain the process for the breakout groups. And there's going to be time for 3 breakout group sessions this evening with 20 minutes each. So that will be 60 minutes total for discussion. You will get to choose from the several breakout groups to learn more about the following values and related goals, as we talked about. So Carlisle character, you can join a breakout group, and they'll be labeled. So when you go to choose, you'll know which one you're joining. You'll get to choose also fiscal sustainability if it interests you, connectivity and access, environmental stewardship, and caring community. So just pause for a moment and kind of think about, because remember, you're going to have 3 different slots. So one thing to keep in mind is if we end up with a breakout group that's, I think we told our facilitators if there ends up being more than 25, I don't think that'll be a problem this evening, but we were going to, we'll be bringing some of you back into the main room to ask you to go to a different group. We don't have a minimum size per group. If just one person goes into one, then they'll be having a discussion with the facilitators in that group. But we kind of wanted to see, in particular, why we structured it this way is to see which topics are people flocking to one over another, or are they really kind of getting equal attention? So that's kind of why one of our thought process for doing this. Again, you will have opportunities to weigh in on all of them. One suggestion would be to join us again on Sunday, as I mentioned. There will be an upcoming survey, as I mentioned, and an online kind of comment box that we'll be putting onto the website as well for you to share thoughts as well. And as I noted, if a breakout group exceeds 25 participants at any time, you may be asked to choose a different group. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to stop screen sharing, and I am going to ask David, when he's ready, to just hit launch. And at the bottom of your screen, once he does that, you should be able to see breakout rooms. Actually, he doesn't even have to hit launch. I see now. So on the bottom of your screen, you should see a breakout rooms button. And if you click on that, you should be able to see 5 choices. The Carlisle character that we talked about, fiscal sustainability, connectivity and access, environmental stewardship, and caring community. So I can see right now on my screen that we've had 2 members go to join groups so far. And the rest of you, if you have any technical questions, either please feel free to ask in the chat or, good, people are joining. I'm hoping the directions are clear. That's great. Okay. Okay, so I see a couple of people saying they don't see the choice. So what I'm going to say is you might need to look at the bottom of your screen where there are controls for Zoom, and there should be an icon with 4 squares.
No.
Nope, you don't see that? All right, so then what I can do, if you're having trouble, if you want to just say in the chat which one you'd like to join, we can manually place you there, I believe. David, do we have that capability? If someone has trouble,
we can do that.
Thank you. Mary Lynn pointed out that you may have a more button if your screen is compressed.
Right.
So I don't know if you're able to kind of draw out the field that you see expanding. If you're on an iPad, it might be challenging, but if you see a more, thanks, Mary Lynn. Try that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's still on. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of our committee members for hosting the breakout groups. The ones that I attended were very helpful, as John indicated. I also want to say thanks, Alexis, to you and to David for great job of running things behind the scenes. David Chang is our intern this summer, and we're really grateful to have him. And thank you for, doing great work behind the scenes.
Really,
so,
very much.
Appreciate it, and it was great. And I look forward to hopefully in the fall we can get out in person with our next community forum when we do one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.